Okay, so welcome to a class online, and today we're going to be looking a little bit at the sacrum. So if you're not familiar with the sacrum, it's shaped like that in a triangle. I might take my jumper off. There we go. So about here, and it is the base of the spine. It sort of slots into the pelvis. So we're going to lie down, and you might want to make sure that you have a block, a strap. We're going to do some leg stretches, maybe something soft for the knees like a towel or blanket, etc. Anything that we do in class today, if you know it's not right for you, please don't do it. Check with your health professional, and if I give modifications and they're right for you, please do the modifications. Otherwise, let's get comfy. So lying down. And we'll start with the knees bent and see if you can lengthen the spine. So I'm sort of lifting my pelvis up and then moving the buttock flesh away and then placing it back down again. So I feel like I've got a nice connection with the floor, with the back there. And then you can relax the hands beside the body, palms up if possible. And then take the awareness down to the pelvis. So travel round down to the very center of the pelvis there where we have our sacrum, and feel that sacrum against the floor. Check in if it's comfortable. Just a couple of mindful breaths in and out through the nose. And imagine you can send that breath all the way deep down towards your sacrum. All right, and then from here, we'll bring the hands a little closer in, down beside the body, and we're just going to do a little roll. So as we breathe in, the pelvis will tilt slightly forwards towards the toes. So we're going to the tip of the sacrum. As we exhale, we're going to allow the pelvis to roll back the other way. So we're moving towards the top of the sacrum. So it's inhale, tilting forwards, and exhale, releasing back. And just feeling that movement across the sacrum there, noticing if it's comfortable or not comfortable. We're employing abdominal muscles as well, so on that exhale, if you can have a little contraction through the belly. So we're pressing the lower back to the floor now as well. So it's a nice little spinal roll. Allow the head to move with the movement. So when you tilt forwards, you'll probably find your chin comes in towards the chest. And then when you bring the pelvis back to the belly button, you'll probably find the chin comes up a little higher to the ceiling. Okay, and then we'll just settle back into a neutral position. So from here, if it's comfortable, we're going to take the arms overhead and stretch the legs out. So on the next breath in, let's reach out through the fingers and the toes. Nice big stretch, little arch into the back, open the front. And then exhale and bring it all back in. All right, so we'll find our strap, and we're going to start with the right leg. So let's place that strap around the ball of the foot if you can. So it's just below my toes. And if you want to do a little bit of a movement for the ankle joint, up and down, point and flex, maybe some circles. All right, and then from here, we're going to think of dropping this right thigh bone into its hip joint. So my left knee's still bent, and I can feel my sacrum connecting with the floor there. So the pelvis, it feels really grounded, really heavy on the ground. And we're just going to allow that right leg to sink into its hip socket as we begin to find the edge of the stretch. So I'm gently drawing my right leg a little closer so that I can start to feel these muscles at the back of the leg. Keeping the shoulders relaxed. If your hands get tired, feel free to wrap the strap around the hands. And then when I've found the edge of what, for me, feels like a stretch, but it's comfortable, on my next exhale, I'm now going to extend my left leg out along the floor. So it's going to increase that sensation in the right leg. But I'm quite active now, pressing the left thigh to the ground as much as I can. And then I'm trying to keep this kneecap drawing up, so this front right quad muscle is also very firm. And you should still feel your sacrum connecting to the earth. Now, the sacral area, in yogic terms, we think of this as the center for Svadhisthana chakra. And this chakra relates to water, so connected to kidneys, bladder. And we think of it as a source of creativity, being able to go with the flow of things. Okay, now we're going to bend that left knee again, and you should find that you might be able to take a little bit more stretch up now. But don't lift the sacrum off the floor. So this is lifted. I'm still going to keep that sacrum grounded as I take the right leg a little closer. So in these interesting times that we have, having the ability to go with the flow, things are changing, is a really useful tool. If you find it hard to change your routines, etc., then try and think of softening and being a little bit more like water, flowing to find the easiest path down the hill. All right, now from here, we'll get a little bit deeper into our glute muscles and the lower back. So let the left knee just relax a little to the side, and then I'm going to turn my right knee out slightly as I bend the knee. It's avoiding the ribs, so I'm bringing it down the side of the ribs there. And I've still got my heel over my knee joint, sole of the foot facing ceiling. And I should still have a sense of my sacrum just being connected with the floor there. So if it's a bit tricky to hold on to the foot with the hand, feel free to stay with the strap, or you could also see if you could hook behind the back of the thigh there, whatever's comfortable. But we don't want to be rolling off to that right side, so I'm trying to keep balance by letting the left knee relax to left side. Now, hopefully, you're getting a sense of a bit more opening in your buttocks. We breathe into that back area. And then if you want to, last little bit, on the next exhale, extend that left leg out along the floor. So again, I'm actively pressing my left thigh, a little bit harder to get it down now. So I'm reaching out through the ball of my foot. If this is feeling too much, just rebend the knee again. Check that you haven't added tension into your face. So we want soft eyes, soft throat. And then we'll slide our left foot back in, releasing the right foot back to the floor. And then let's extend both legs out and just take a moment to observe the difference in the sides. So you're probably feeling a little bit lopsided now, and we can shake that out. Okay, so sliding the knees back in and finding that strap again, we're going to place it around our left foot. And then we can just do a couple of little points, up and down, little circles. There we go. And then get that strap just below the toes there on the ball of the foot. And we start to straighten up a little bit more now through this left leg. But remember, we're feeling that sacrum connected to the ground. Pelvis is heavy. So now get that sense of dropping this leg into its hip joint. So I don't want to sort of extend it up, I want to bring it down. And we just have a little play finding that little stretch at the back of the leg that's not horrendously intense, but there is sensation. So as we keep that left leg where it is in space, on the next exhale, let's extend that right leg out along the floor, press down through the right thigh. Kneecap is drawing up here, this is firm on the left side. And again, feel free to change the grip on the support strap that you've got. So I'm keeping my shoulders relaxed. Breathing, if you can, through the nose. Now the left leg will stay straight. We'll rebend the right knee. And now we can hopefully take up just that little bit extra, but don't lift up the sacrum. Try and keep that connected to the earth. So if we can let the right knee just relax a little bit to the right side, we're going to turn this left leg slightly out as we bend the knee and draw it down to the side of the body. So I'm not bringing my knee into my chest. That will limit how far I can move. So I want to bring it a little bit to the side. Find the grip that suits. Again, pelvis should feel level. Sacrum is on the floor. And if that is all feeling like a good stretch and you want a little bit more, on the next exhale, extend that right leg out along the ground. So do check that your right heel is over your knee. I'm trying to keep the foot facing the ceiling. And then we'll ease back out. So we're going to bring that right foot back in and then taking that left leg back to floor. Okay, both legs out. Just rest for a moment, observing the changes that have happened in the body. And then we can have a little shake out. Okay, so just bend both knees, feet on the floor. We'll go for a little roll side to side. Let the head roll as well. Both knees in towards the chest. Either behind the knees or on the shins, whatever's comfortable. And we're going to roll all the way over. And we'll come up to sit. So from here, we're actually going to sit with the legs over to one side. So I'm taking both my legs over to my right side, and I have my left foot on the front thigh towards the knee, and right foot's just angled there behind me. Just trying to find my notes. Okay, so from here, depending on how your knees feel, because I know this doesn't feel good on everybody's knees, this angle. So if you don't like this back leg, you could take it a little bit out to the side like that and just take the knee out of the equation. You could also sit up a little bit higher if you like and see how that feels as well. Okay, so from here, we're going over to our left side first. We're just going to place the left hand out and then reaching up with the right arm and then extending over. So we've got a nice little side stretch happening on the right. I'm lifting the chest, reaching out through the fingers. And if this feels good, we're going to roll up onto the knees and lift up with the hips and the buttocks. Okay, we'll sweep the arm down, place the buttocks back down, keep the legs as they are, however, and we're going for a little twist. So I'm placing left hand to left knee, right hand just coming behind, and I'm trying to relax my right hip down. All right, and breathe in, come back to center. So let's switch the legs to the other direction. So I've got my left leg behind me now, right foot on left knee. So first up, we'll just place the right hand over to the side, and we're going to sweep the top arm, keeping the buttocks on the floor to start with. And then if that feels okay and you want to go up, we're just going to lift the hips up a little bit, come onto the knees a little bit more. And then we'll sweep that back down. Keep the legs here, but little twists. So right hand to right knee, left hand comes behind, but I'm trying to relax my left hip down. Lengthen out through the sacrum. Chest is lifted. And then release back out of the twist. So we'll now come over into a child pose, and if it's comfortable, we'll try to do working child. So we're going to take the knees out to the edges of the mat, big toes are together. If you can sit the buttocks way down to the heels, awesome. You'll probably see mine don't quite go that low. And the arms will be at least shoulder width wide. And let's see if we can rest the forehead on the floor. If you find that this isn't comfortable on your shoulders, you could put a support underneath your head, and that will ease that pressure off on the shoulders. But we're looking to get a little stretch, a little lengthening into the groin, the chest, lengthen the side ribs. A couple of nice big breaths here. See if you can keep the elbows off the floor. And then we'll walk the hands back in and bring the head back up. Okay, so from here, let's tuck the toes. And we're not going to be coming up very high. This is just a little stretch for the toes and the soles of the feet. So if possible, press down through the hands and see if you can hover the knees just off the floor and reach back through the heels. If this isn't comfortable on your wrists, you could do this on your forearms, but we're staying super low. All right, let's release. Come back down. And I'll have to do a battery change on my mic, so bear with me. All right, so new batteries in the mic. Hopefully you didn't lose much of the sound towards the end there. So we're back to hands and knees. And now we'll do a little calf stretch. So we're just going to tuck right toes under, reach back through the right heel. And then release. We'll take left toes under, reach back through the left heel. And then let that go. And we're going to move into Savannasana, our downward dog now. So if we can just get a little bit more extension between the hands and the knees. So my hands are just a little bit further forwards from the shoulders. Spread the fingers out. So I've got a really good base here on the floor. Toes hip width apart. Let's take a breath in. Lift the knees. As we start to exhale, we're going to ease back. Now you can keep the knees a little bit soft if you like and just get a little bit more length through the spine. Check that the feet are straight, so we don't want the heels turning in towards each other. Drawing up through the kneecaps now as we straighten into the legs a little bit more if possible. Relax the shoulders. Press down through the palms, and then take awareness to your sacrum and make sure that you're not sort of flicking it up to the sky. So we're going to lengthen it to the wall behind us. Lengthen it towards, not quite the heels, so not to the floor, but just away from the crown of the head. Okay, let's bring both knees back to ground, and you can come down to rest. Any child pose that you're happy with. Bring that support for the head if you need it, like I do. And we're going to now work into a little bit of a sequence. So from downward dog, we'll be taking one leg up into the air into three-legged dog, and then we're going to do a big step through into a lunge, and then we'll come up into a warrior position. So from here, toes under, nice deep breath in, lifting knees off the floor, exhaling, easing back, relax the head, relax the shoulders, breathe into the belly. So three-legged dog, we're going to take our right leg up and back. So we're extending down through the left heel, keeping the arms nice and strong. Now remember, you could have your hands on the wall instead, or on a chair, or on your forearms if you've got to take the wrists out of it. Now the big step through, a lot of people struggle with this, so it really helps to look forwards where you're going, lift that left heel up as high as you can, get a bit more space under the body, and then let's see if we can use momentum to swing the foot up towards the hands. Now if it didn't quite make it, you can just put your knees down and then shift the foot up towards the hands. So we want the long stance. So if you've got the knee on the floor, let's bring it up now into our high lunge. You could also use a brick as well to give yourself a little bit more space if that's comfortable. And take the gaze forwards, lengthen tailbone, lengthen sacrum to the back heel. Reach out through the crown of the head. And then see if we can sit down a little bit deeper with the hips. Now it's a bit bouncy, the next move, so one option is you could go a little bit wider with your left foot and then pivot the left heel down. We're going to press down through the front foot and come all the way up into our warrior number one. Just watch though that you haven't let your foot turn all the way out to the side, because it makes it hard to face the short end of the mat. So you want to pivot, try and get both feet pointing forwards. Relax the shoulders, maybe take the gaze up between the hands or just look straight ahead. Virabhadrasana 1. And now I'm thinking of my sacrum trying to relax a little bit to the floor. So extending down as I reach out through the top of the head. From here, let's bring both hands back to floor. Maybe lift and pivot the back foot so that we can step once more back to our downward dog. Release and relax the shoulders. Now, if you need to take a rest, take a rest. You can always put the video on pause. But we're going to go over to left leg back, three-legged dog. Keeping the arms strong, really reaching down through that right heel, so there's a good stretch happening in that right leg. I'm trying to keep my hips level, so I'm not sort of overlifting, rolling to the side. Okay, big step forwards. We look forwards. Get a little bit more height underneath that right foot if you can. And let's see if we can swing it through and up to the hands. Otherwise, get it there any way you can. So let's sit down a little bit with the hips. Open the chest, gaze forwards, lengthen sacrum to the back right heel. I'm also trying to make sure that my knee's not going past my ankle here. Now from this position, we'll come to warrior two. So if you want to, shift the back foot across, maybe put the back heel down, press down through the front foot, keep the front knee bent, sweep the arms up, maybe gaze up. And now you're thinking of sacrum, tailbone, extending little bit more towards the floor. So we're keeping lots of space here in our lower back. I don't want to kick it up. I just want to bring it down. As I ease my right hip forwards, try and relax my left hip back. And then both hands to floor. Lift the back heel. We're going to take a nice big step back again to our downward dog. And knees to floor. Let's come down, have a little rest. Breathing in, we'll come back up. So we're going to roll ourselves up to stand. If we can take the toes under, we're going to walk the hands back in as we lift knees off the floor and we roll back onto the heels. So knees are just a little bit soft. If you want, nice little hang here. And what you can do is give a nice little stretch for the outer wrists. So if it's a little tricky to get the backs of the hands resting on the floor, so it looks like that, what you could do is a backward prayer instead. And then we're just going to rotate round. All right, soften the knees a little bit more, lift the head, lift the chest, maybe place the hands on the thighs, not the knees. Use the legs to come all the way up. Readjust the tights if you need to. And we're up for standing. All right, so I thought from here, we might do something for the feet a little bit more. You could put a hand on a wall for balance, etc., or a chair or something like that. We're just going to tuck the toes under and roll on the toes, forwards, backwards. And I'm trying to get my little toe as well as my big toe. So I'm sort of moving it around and I'm taking little circles as well. Okay, and then we'll go over to the other side. So toes are under and then we roll forwards, backwards. I'm trying to get right to the little toe as well. And the big, a little roll around. Okay, and then placing feet roughly hip width. Keep balls of the feet on the ground and just lift the toes off the floor. So as you lift the toes, you can feel the arches of the feet lifting also. So let's place the toes back down and try and keep the arches a little bit lifted. So from here, we'll get a bit of a calf stretch, shin stretch. This is really good to do on a set of stairs if you've got them. But we're going to cross the right leg over in front of the left shin and I've curled my toes under. So side view looks like that. And then we bend that supporting leg knee. So I'm just using that back leg to get a stretch across the front of the foot, front of the ankle, and across the shin. It's also a bit balancy, so again, having some support to hold on helps. Okay, we're going to change sides. So I bring the left foot across, toes are under, and then I bend the back knee to push forwards that front leg to get the stretch. Trying to keep my pelvis level through this, so I sort of haven't kicked off to the side. And then we'll release. Okay, so the next one is a bit more for the outer thighs. You may want to have a brick, and you can adjust the height of the brick. You could also use, I don't know, a little low-rise stool or chair or something like that. And what we're going to do is cross right leg over left. Both feet are planted flat on the ground this time. They're both pointing straight ahead. And then we fold forward. So I want to fold from my hips. So if it's a little tricky to touch the floor, this is where it might be nicer to have the hands on a support. And hopefully we're feeling this in the outer thigh, outer hip area. I feel it more in my back leg. So if I want to take it even further, I could walk my hands around to the right. And that's to get into my left outer thigh hip. Okay, we'll come back to center. Now to come out, bend both knees a little bit. I'm pushing my back shin into my front calf, and then I've got a little bit more stability to release. Okay, so we're going to do the other side. We'll cross left leg over right. Feet are planted, they're close, pointing straight. Fold from the hips. Bring in a support, or if you're lucky enough, you can reach the floor. Awesome. Just get used to this sensation. It could be tighter on this side, so you may want to adjust what the hands are doing here. So I'm feeling it now in my outer right thigh hip area, and if I want to take it a little bit further, I can just walk a little bit more to my left. Okay, we're going to walk it back to center. So now I bend both knees a bit. I'm actively pushing the right leg against the left calf, and then I come back out and release and give that all a shake. All right, so that's good for your iliotibial band. They get quite tight, and they tend to pull the kneecaps out of place a little bit, so it's good to have those stretched. Now, we're going to go sideways on our mat for warrior number 2. So if we can step the right foot out and the left foot slightly angled in. I'm bending my front right knee, but I don't want to go past my ankle. So inhale, extend the arms, relax the shoulders. Now in one of my live classes, I've recently been talking about in this pose, resting the arms on the top of a water. So imagine you're in a pool and the arms can just float on the top of the water. And be conscious that water finds a level. So, some people, they think that they've got their arms about shoulder height, and if that was the case, they were resting on the water, they'd be drowning. So check, are your hands lower than your shoulders? So we're going to now extend over the right leg and into our angle pose. So there's a couple of options here. You can rest the forearm on the thigh, top arm straight to ceiling. You could take that forearm away. So if there's no problems with your back, etc., you want to feel a little bit more core strength, take the support away, bring the hand behind and work the knee back to the inner elbow. And then I'd like you to, again, think of your sacrum is pointing towards your back left heel. So again, we want that length in the spine. Option of taking the arm overhead, if that feels okay, and we lift the head to the arm. Legs are strong. So let's sweep the arm down if it's over. Inhale all the way up. We're going to relax, turn to face the right foot, hands to floor, and we're coming into our long lunge again. So again, we're doing a little bit of linking. Now from here, we're going to step back, if you can, into plank pose. So place the palms on the floor, reach back with the right foot, find your plank. Again, you could use knees on the floor, do a little half plank, or you could come onto the forearms for forearm plank. But just finding that core strength, straight line through the body, lift the spine between the shoulder blades, and then we're going to lower to the floor. So you can put the knees down first, or you could roll forwards, come down by your chaturanga. Any way you get down, just get down. And we'll move into our gentle cobra. So feet are hip width, elbows in. I've got my hands just a little forwards from my shoulders here. I'm breathing in, lifting head, chest, using my back strength. Back strength means I can take my hands off the floor and still hold the position. Now, if it's comfortable and your back's okay, you can lift up a little bit higher, but I don't want you straightening the arms. Now, can you think of lifting your inner thighs a little bit to the ceiling And again, lengthen that sacrum towards the heels. So buttock flesh moving to heels. If you need to rest, rest. If you can hold for another 2 breaths, hold. And then the next exhale, let's come all the way down. Soften, let it go. Little rest. All right, now we've got to get all the way up to stand again to repeat that on the other side. So, toes under, inhale, lifting up to a cobra, into up dog, back to down dog if you can. Let's walk the hands and feet towards each other. Uttanasana, if you're okay to do it with straight legs this time, feel free to do that. A little bit more intense. If it's too intense, soften the knees, fold the arms. Okay, let's bend the knees, sweep the arms behind. Inhale, gaze forwards, all the way up as we breathe in. And we can come back to the heart center with the hands. And release and relax. Okay, so there's a little bit of work there. Before we do the other side, let's just do let's do the other side. Change my mind. So from here, let's step out into warrior 2, left foot forwards. So I'll face you guys. We're going to turn long side of the mat, back foot slightly angled in. Bend the front knee. From here, check the knees in line with middle toes so it's not caving to big toe. And then sweep the arms out. Relax the shoulders. Think about that pool of water and we're just resting the arms lightly on the top of the water. There's no effort. Doesn't mean you get floppy though. Think about where the water level is. Is it here? Is it here? So I don't want to be up here. All the way down. Now we'll extend into angle. So we're going to glide over the left leg. And then your choice. Forearm resting on the thigh. Or if you prefer, you can take the arm behind, work the core strength a little longer. But if it doesn't feel good, bring the arm back. Top arm, you can take it over the head if that feels okay. And think of your sacrum, that triangle extending to the back heel. So length through the spine as we hold this position. Nice and strong. Okay, we're going to sweep it up. Turn to face the front foot. So we're going to bend the front knee again. And we're taking the hands to the floor. We're going to lift the back heel. So we're in a nice long lunge. Lengthening out through the spine. Now, whichever plank you want to do, see if you can step that left foot back. And we hold a nice strong plank, but you can modify it knees to floor. Spine is lifting. So I don't want to collapse into my shoulders. And then we're going to slowly lower all the way down. Have a little rest. Check the feet are hip width apart. And then we'll bring our hands back ready for Cobra pose, Bhujangasana. So elbows tuck in. I want to avoid my shoulders rising up towards my ears. So if you think of moving the elbow tips back to the hips, that's going to help keep the shoulders down. So on the breath in, lift the head, lift the chest, use that back strength. And then if the back's okay, you can lift it up a little bit higher, but elbows in. It's actually stronger to work here than it is just to crank up. So I want you using your strength. And again, if you took your hands away, could you hold it? So don't let my back strength go. Now think of the tailbone or the sacrum moving towards the heels. So we're looking for that Lengthen the lower back. Just a couple more breaths. Nice long neck. And then when you're ready, lowering back to the floor. Have a little rest anywhere you like to rest. Take the time with your breath. Big, slow breath in. Even slower breath out if you can manage. Okay, we'll take the hips for a little bit of a wiggle. Bring the hands under the shoulders now. Tuck the toes. We're going to lift up and back into downward dog. Or you could do a cat. We're going to walk the hands and feet towards each other. So I'm just going to turn around again. Your choice, bent knees or straight legs. Just make sure that you're not rounding too much into your spine if you've got the straight legs. All right, soften the knees, gaze forward, sweep the arms behind. So this time chair pose. Either hands shoulder height, or you can take them a little bit higher. Let's come all the way up. Release out to the sides. Shake it out. So only a couple more standing poses to go. Our next one is Garudasana or eagle pose. You could use a brick next to the foot for a little bit of extra balance. You could be near a wall. So I'm going to have the brick next to my left foot. Needs to be fairly close, and you know, this sort of height's usually fine for most people. So we'll do the arms first, and then we'll add the legs. So I'm going to bring both arms up, and then the right arm is going to swing underneath the left arm. Now you can do a nice big hug here. So we want to separate out the shoulder blades and sort of walk the hands as tight as you can. Or, if it works for you, a little bit tricky for me, doing the bind, if you can. So I can only just get my thumb, other people can get their hands together. And you want your elbows and your wrists here in the center of the body. So we're going to bend the knees, sit down, and then see if you can take that right foot up and over the left. Now this is where you could use the brick for balance. Some of you are going to be able to hook the foot behind the calf. I can't. And others, like me, who keep trying, you can either keep that foot floating in the air or slide it back onto the brick. So whichever works. So we're going to sit down and think of the sacrum pointing not towards the heels this time. Think of a kangaroo tail, sort of lengthening out a little bit further away from the feet. So we want to get that sense of opening across the sacrum, across the lower back, and across the back of the shoulders. Steady breath. We're then going to release, inhale, stretch it out, little shrug. And if you like the use of the brick, switch it over. And we'll do the other side. So inhale, both arms up. Left arm underneath the right arm. So you can either do the hug, or if you can grab a bind, grab hold of that. And then we're going to bend the knees, sitting down. Next, left leg, up and over right. So you can either find the brick, hook the foot behind the calf, or just hang it there. But both knees are now bent. Thighs are squeezing. We keep breathing when we're looking for that opening across the back. So gently draw the navel to the spine to support that back area. Steady breath. And then when you're ready to release, let's unravel a couple of shrugs, shake it out. And we'll take the brick off the mat. Okay, so our last standing. This is a one-legged balance. You could use the wall So we're coming into what we call Warrior 3, Virabhadrasana 3. And if you like to use a wall, you'll be putting your hands on the wall or a bench. Table works just as well. Front knee stays bent as we enter into it. And then once we're in the balance, we then try and draw it up. Flexy people, try not to lock your knee back though. Keep a little bit of softness there. Okay, so arms, if you're not using the wall, then we're going to bring the hands together. And I quite like to interlock, so we have a Kash Mudra, index fingers pointing forwards. And we're going to keep those arms next to the ears. Now at this point, in our Warrior 1 position here, we have a nice straight line almost through the back. So we're going to keep that, transfer the weight to the right foot, and then from here, the only reason the chest will move forward is because the back leg is lifting. So we start to float the left leg off the floor. And depending on how high we lift the left leg, that determines how low we bring the chest. So this could be it. I don't want to start dropping the arms and ending up into an umbrella shape. So the back's got to work strong. We keep lifting that back leg up, reaching out through the fingertips. Keep breathing, gaze steady. And then we'll soften the front knee, left foot to floor, and release. That's quite a strong pose. Shake it out. For those using the wall, you'll be able to find, a much nicer, don't know actually if the camera will pick that angle up, probably this side over here. So you'll be able to keep the hands shoulder width, and you can work more on keeping those hips level. All right, left side. So left foot forwards. We'll start with a soft front knee. Take the arms together for those who are doing it freestanding. And arms stay next to ears. Okay, let's transfer weight to left foot. So now I'm straightening my left leg up a little bit. And then I begin to lift the right leg. Remember, I'm trying to keep my body in a straight line. So I'm not folding from my waist. I keep lifting that right leg up. Reach out through the fingers. Oh. And then when you're ready, bend the knee, come back out. Release, relax. And we're going to have soft knees, a little bit wider. Let's go for a swing. Nice and free. And back to center. Okay. So, last forward bend to take us to the floor. And we'll want a brick nearby because we're going to be doing some bridge work with it. So if you haven't got a brick, Tupperware, solid Tupperware box is just as good, or even, big heavy dictionary, if you've got one of those in the house, can work as well. So let's fold from the hips and release all the way down. So I've got the knees soft this time, fold the arms. If you prefer, you can have elbows on thighs instead. And we're looking for that beautiful opening in the lower back. Again, that sacral region we're opening up. And then we'll take the hands to the floor and we'll bring our knees to the ground. All right. So working with our bridge pose today, we're going to be placing the brick, if you've got a brick or some sort of support, a bolster could work as well, but it's got to be positioned correctly under the sacrum here. So it should be super comfortable when it's in the right spot. So again, just to reiterate, sacrum's about here. So if you've got your buttock crease, just where that peters out, you've got the little dip in the back, that hard bony bit, that is your sacrum. That is what you want to be resting on your support. So let's come over onto our backs. We're going to have the knees bent. So it's always best to start from a lying down position and then place the brick underneath. It's not much fun putting the brick down and then trying to roll back on it. It just doesn't do any favours. So from here I've got my feet about hip width apart. We're going to lift the hips up, slide the brick underneath. I've got it medium height to start off with. And I'm looking for that, comfy position. It's not on my spinal column, it's on that sacrum. So here's too low, it's just digging into my buttock flesh. Here's too high. It hasn't really got the support of the pelvis on it. Here's good, comfy, no problems. So from this position, we get the shoulders under. Now this could be high enough for most people, and if you've got a proper yoga block, you can take a little bit further if you want. So I bring my feet in a little bit closer and then see if I can turn the brick onto the high setting but still get my feet on the ground. I've got the mic crushing into my throat here a little bit, and I want my shoulders on the ground. So if you can't get the feet down and you can't get the shoulders down, this is too high for you. Go down to the next level. If you can and it's comfortable, awesome. Keep some space in the front of the throat, and also should be able to get fingers underneath the back of the neck there, and at least you haven't got a mic sort of coming into your face. And we're going to enjoy this opening up the front hip flexors here. So I've just tucked my shoulders under a little bit. See if I can breathe. If you're on the medium setting, you're still getting that hip flexor stretch. And we're thinking about the sacrum, so the bit we're resting on. We're still thinking of lengthening it, but lengthening towards the back of the knee joints. And I'm lifting my spine actively away from the floor, so I'm not sort of collapsed. I'm actually working while I'm holding. Now, only if there's no problems with your back. Another option is to try and straighten out the legs. Heels just on the floor. That's pretty full on, big stretch for those hip flexors. But if we're doing a lot of sitting, because we're working from home, then this is going to open up those areas that we've been tightening with the sitting. Okay, we're going to bring that back in with the feet. Now to come up, I need to get a little bit more height, so I'm lifting my heels, and then I turn the brick over. So now we're all going to be on medium height. Readjust the feet back down, shoulders under, chest lifted. Breathing into the front of the body. So this feels a lot easier. Again, sacrum should be comfy. Option of extending the legs out. This won't be quite as intense, but it does lots of good stuff. As long as you're working your back and not sort of collapsing onto the brick there and the floor. So lift the chest. And then we'll bring the feet back in. So now we lift up, we go to flat, which feels really easy. But still that little bit of lift in the spine, so I'm not collapsed, I'm lifting up, open throat. And again, if you like, you can take the legs out. You can get a little bit more lift through the back here. In and out through the nose with the breath. And then we'll bring the feet back in. Press down through the feet, lift the buttocks. Take your time here. Roll each vertebrae down bit by bit by bit. So we're lengthening the spine. And once we've got that whole back stretched out on the floor, you can then slide the feet away and just feel the length in the back on the ground. Should feel the sacrum connected to the earth, pelvis heavy. So by doing those back bends, we've actually created a bit more space in the back. All right, so let's take the knees in, and depending on what your back feels like at once, you could do a little rotational twist here, or you could take knees into chest and do some little circles around. Gentle ones on the sacrum there, or on the lower back. And then we'll let that go. So how about we put something warm on and get set up for relaxation and a bit of breath awareness as well. So if you've got socks, jumpers, etc., nice blanket that you like to put over yourself, grab all of that and set yourself up comfortably on the floor. Or if you like to have your legs up on a couch, that works quite nicely as well. Okay, so hopefully you're now comfortable. And if you can close your eyes as you settle into the floor, observing the pelvis. Try and let it really be heavy on the ground there. Does it feel even? And if you're not sure, just observe the different contact points between the back and the pelvis and the legs. See if they have the similar contact points or not. And if you do need to make any adjustments, please do to your position. And then start to count the lengths of your breath. So when you breathe in, just mentally count 1, 2, or however you like to count. And then once you've worked out the inhale, count the exhale. And do a couple of rounds of counting just so you get a rough idea of the length of your inhale and exhale. And then once you've worked out the length of the breath, if there's a difference between the inhale and exhale, can you now bring it to the same count? So we're going for same breath count. Whatever breath count you have established on the inhale, exhale, can you now add a little pause between your breaths? And the pause will be half the count of your breath. So for instance, if you breathe in for a count of 4, you'll inhale 4, hold the inhale for 2, exhale 4, and suspend the breath for 2. If you've got a count of 5, it'll be 5, 3, 5, 3, and so on. Anytime it becomes uncomfortable to do this breath control, feel free to let it go. Take a few normal rescue breaths, we call it, and then maybe try coming back into the count. And if you're comfortable with your breath count, when you start your next round on the inhale, see if you can add an extra count to your inhale, exhale, and to your pause between the breath. So if you had a count of 4, it will next be 5, 3, 5, 3. And if that is a comfortable ratio and you feel you want to extend it a little bit more, you can add an extra count to your ratios. If it's not comfortable, you can always drop back to the previous one or just let the practice go. And then finishing up your last round and allowing the breath to come back to uncontrolled breathing. Just let it be natural. So with the eyes closed, can you visualize your spine lying on the floor? So imagine that you're observing your spine from nearby. You can see it laid out on the floor. And then down at the very bottom of the spine, the very tip of it, you can see a stem emerging from inside, which turns into a bud and a flower is forming. And as the flower opens up, it has several leaves, beautiful green, round leaves. Think of drops of dew glistening on the leaves. They're like little pearls. And the little pearls fragment as you shake the leaves into small beads. And then they come together to form bigger droplets. So the flower at the base of the spine is a lotus flower. And it's a dark red colour with 4 petals. And think of that root going right down through the spinal cord into the earth. And travelling up the spine to the sacral bones. So still near the base, another stem, another flower begins to grow and expand. This flower, Svadhisthana chakra, has the colour orange, and the petals open up into 6 orange petals. Each flower and its leaves have little drops of water, like little pearls that move, slowly separating and joining together. And this lotus is coming out of the water element. Now travelling up the spine to around where the navel might have been, and you see another stem starting to grow out of the spine from the earth. And as the lotus flower opens up, it has yellow petals. 10 petals this time, expanding. Bringing in a little bit of fire, a little bit of sun, and brightness. Moving the awareness now a little higher onto that spine where the heart might be. And at the heart center, another flower begins to grow out from the earth beneath the spine, through the spine and up to form a 12-petaled green lotus. Think of this lotus and its green petals expanding into space and air, opening up the heart center. And the petals on the leaves, the little pearls of water, move around, coalesce, disperse as the flower expands. Travel further up to the spine to where the throat would be, and at the throat center, another lotus begins to grow. Visualize 16 blue petals expanding as the flower opens at the throat center. And then from the spine, take the focus to where the third eyebrow center might have been. And behind that eyebrow center, think of a 2-petaled indigo flower opening up. A little lotus with 2 petals beneath the eyebrow center. This lotus only has 2 leaves as well. Little dewdrops, looking like pearls. Think of the full moon shining down on that flower. And then where the top of the head might have been and the skull, think of 1,000-petaled bright red lotus expanding out from the crown of the head. So many petals, they can't be counted. Think of the moon shining down on all these lotuses. Coming back to the eyebrows centre, the two-petaled lotus. Moving down to the throat centre, the blue lotus, 16 petals. Back to the heart centre, the green lotus with 12 petals. To the solar plexus, we had the yellow lotus with 10 petals. To the sacrum, 6-petaled orange lotus, Svadhisthana chakra. And finally to the base of the spine, we had our 4-petaled deep red lotus sinking down into the earth. Perhaps imagining your whole body resting on a large lotus flower. And once more thinking of your physical body wrapping around the spine. Feeling your back connected to the floor. Noticing the sacrum, the pelvis in contact with the ground. And feeling into the fingertips, beginning to move the thumb against the fingers, begin to move the toes. Breathing that little bit deeper as you start to extend and stretch the arms and the legs. Allow the body to move in any way it feels good to do so. And then when it feels right, rolling over to the right hand side. Couple of breaths, blinking the eyes open. And then when you're ready, coming up to sit comfortably. So this week's quote is from Dr. Wayne Dyer. He says, most people are searching for happiness outside of themselves. That's a fundamental mistake. Happiness is something that you are, and it comes from the way that you think. So we sometimes feel we're not in control of things, but we can control our thoughts, but we have to be aware of them first. So think about where your thoughts are, what they're dwelling on. Can you change those processes and make your life a little happier? So we'll bring the hands together. Namaste. Have an excellent rest of the week. And we'll see when we get the next one recorded. Bye.